like to acknowledge all of the Shade family members here today. Daughters Helen Kraft, Susan Ward, and Sandy Hayden. 4 grandchildren, Greg Herbert, Becky Ward, Renee Farnham, and Jillian Hayden. And 2 great-granddaughters, Margot and Madeline Farnham. Thanks to all for attending. I will make the presentation along with Mrs. Sandy Hayden. Sandy, will you join me here, please? This presentation is a little unusual. It includes a small bit of Navy history. The details of this World War II incident are not important, but the actions that 2 submarine officers took during and after it are. These officers displayed not only those characteristics that appear on your honor coins, honor, courage, commitment, but devotion to duty and sacrifice as well. That is what I would like you to remember from this presentation. My mother and her brother, Arnold Frederick Shade, grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. He received an appointment to the Naval Academy and graduated in 1933, going on to submarine school. In 1943, my uncle was serving as the executive officer aboard the USS Growler. The commanding officer was Commander Howard Gilmore. At about 1 a.m. on 7th February, Growler stealthily approached a Japanese gunboat for a night surface attack. When the gunboat prepared to ram the Growler, the submarine maneuvered to avoid the crash, then rammed its attacker, ripping into its port side at 17 knots, bending the Growler's bow 18 feet to port. A fusillade of gunfire ensued from the gunboat's heavy machine guns, wounding Gilmore, who was on the bridge. Realizing he could not get below in time if his embattled craft were to be saved, Gilmore ordered his men to clear the bridge. When his commanding officer issued the order, "Take her down," my uncle acted with a sense of duty tempered by anguish. Carrying out Commander Gilmore's command, he closed the hatch of the Growler behind him and let the submarine slip below the surface as the seriously wounded and gallant Gilmore floated in the sea. Commander Gilmore sacrificed his life for his men. This 1943 incident is one of the most celebrated of World War II. My uncle took over command of the Growler and helped bring it safely to port in Brisbane, Australia, where it underwent extensive repairs. Years after the Growler incident, which resulted in the posthumous Medal of Honor Award for Gilmore, my uncle talked of agonizing over his decision. His immediate thought: do I save the ship or save the captain? Though dazed and bruised from a fall from the conning tower to the control room, he acted quickly. He was awarded the Navy Cross for his actions. During World War II, he completed 11 combat patrols on submarines, 3 as executive officer and 8 as skipper. My uncle went on to a distinguished 38-year naval career, retiring as a vice admiral in 1971. One of his final assignments was commander of submarine force in U.S. Atlantic Fleet, COMSUBLAND. "Take her down" remains a legendary phrase in the U.S. submarine force today. My uncle was very proud that he was an Academy graduate. He was also proud of the fact that Sam Ward, class of '60, his son-in-law, a nephew, and Rodney Ward, class of '91, his grandson, were graduates as well. My Uncle Arnold was an inspiration to me as I grew up and very instrumental in my decision to attend the Academy and make the Navy a career. He wore his Academy ring at all times, including when on combat patrol during World War II. All members of my family consider it an honor and privilege to be able to donate this well-worn ring representing a small piece of Navy history to the 64-14 Bonds of Gold ceremony. May the class of 14 carry on the finest traditions of those who have gone before and always have fair winds and following seas.
Captain Green and Miss Hay will now present the ring to the class of 2014. Accepting the ring on behalf of the class of 2014, Midshipman Third Class Beyond French.
Thank you, Sandy. Our last presentation includes 2 class rings from donors who wish to remain anonymous. These donations, therefore, are made in the name of all members of the class of 1964. The presentation will be made by Captain Gordy Clow, our class Executive Vice President. Gordy, please, sir.
Good evening. These class of 1964 rings were donated by classmates who wish to remain anonymous. And as anonymous donations, these rings truly represent all members of the class of 1964, including the 1,258 young men who met for the first time in the yard some 53 years ago on a hot July afternoon to begin an adventure which defines our lives to this day. These rings represent the 927 classmates who graduated on June 3rd, 1964. And they also represent those classmates who were not able to graduate, but who still to this day support Naval Academy activities and class activities. Once a classmate, always a classmate. These rings also represent 29 classmates who lost their lives in operational incidents, many of them combat-related. The 10 names that are etched on the wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial of the class of 64. And the 5 classmates who were POWs North Vietnam, all of whom came back, some of whom were there for longer than 5 years. We look with great pride at the accomplishments of the class. 22 members went on to assume flag rank, including a commandant of the Marine Corps. Several rose to executive positions in government, including one ambassador to China and one secretary of the Navy. More became leaders in the business world. One became an astronaut, and we we even had one Marine Corps general who, after he retired, put on Navy Admiral stripes. We had one USNA superintendent, 2 commandants, and 2 distinguished graduates from the class. Others became doctors, attorneys, educators, authors, and spiritual leaders. Each classmate contributed to the success of the class of '64, and each is a link in the chain upon which the strength of the class of '64 depends. The achievements of our class are embodied in these 2 rings, and we freely offer both the strength of our class and our years of experience to the class of 2014. As you wear your class rings, combined with gold for ours, we hope they will always remind you that we are your heritage and you are our legacy. We wish you every success and good fortune in the great voyage of life that lies ahead of you. A voyage that you surely will make with distinction, the distinction that is the hallmark of a proud wearer of the U.S. Naval Academy.